Hey, Joe, how's your rod turning on these days?
Oh, crazy, man. Huh, baby?
They're not bad, these dropouts. They may not even be stupid or backward or lazy. Dropouts just don't happen overnight. They take years to develop. Not all dropouts come from homes as unhappy as Joe's, but most of them do have parents who feel they are economic and social failures. So by the age of 10, Joe was already starting to become a failure. He didn't like the kids. He didn't like teachers. Not all his classmates were bright, but quite a few were working well below their intelligence levels. But there was no time for teaching. If Joe had lived in another city, he might have found his way.
It was
A bitter, painful struggle. There are other forces that influence a small boy's attitude, pressures in the outside world. There are wonderful things in this world, but on the street, a spurious paradise.
You can't afford not to at least look at it.
well, all right.
The Joes are affected more strongly than other children by such pressures, and their hungers are sharper. Deprived of real love, of security, of achievement, they are quick to accept the idea that the adult world is a grab bag. The Joes aren't stupid boys. School, they say, is for kids. By the time Joe was 15, he was being kept in by law. Was it any wonder he hated it, even then? He had no real friends, no interests in common with his friends. He had no one to turn him around and guide him through the maze of his own confusion. Joe was alone and chose to spend much of his time alone. By now, Joe was a fugitive from the law. It's not really fun, but at least you're out of prison. Who cares? Why worry? Life is short. The game may be pointless, but at least you win once in a while. He had no real reason for trying any harder. He hated the whole setup.
As I told you earlier, we just put you in here for experiments.
Well, it all seems sort of pointless to me.
Pointless?
Well, I think I'm going to quit.
What seems to be the trouble?
Joe,
Oh, everything in general, I guess.
Does this have something to do with your decision? Or what seems to be the difficulty?
Joe,
I just want a little freedom. I'm just tired of it. I feel like I'm in prison.
What are you going to do? What could you do?
Anything.
Really? Do you think you could live as you are now?
I think I could manage.
Really? Of course you couldn't. Why don't you think it over a little while longer?
Joe,
Well, I don't think there's anything to think about it. I've made up my mind and I want to drop out.
Joe reached the beginning of his 11th year in the school system without counseling, without any real ties to fellow students, without motivation. Joe went out into the world, dropped out into the world by the back door. Even then, he wasn't sure he was doing the right thing. He wasn't breaking any law now, but he felt as though he were. He wandered and looked at the surface of the adult's world, wondering how. He started the endless task of trying to gain entrance into a strange world without a passport. Most Joes in America today are dropping out. All surveys prove that the children of the age of automation are virtually doomed to a miserable life. They are more serious, they are harder, they do not have to be pushed. For one thing, their confidence. For another, they feel that they are alone, branded as failures. And thirdly, they do not see hope for their futures. Our Joe got a car, souped it up, found himself a girl, and 2 others. Now at 17, he's skilled, and so Joe will go on searching, driving to nowhere. When did he lose his way? Our Joe got a car, souped it up, found himself a girl, and 2 others.
Would someone like to volunteer to help?
Why don't you do something about it?
For Joe and thousands like him, there are no counselors, no help at school or at home, no help from community agencies. And remember, almost 1 million Joes a year drop out and are lost. Lost to their time, lost to themselves. His search will be endless. There is no shortcut. Joe was a problem whose problem was never solved.